If you need encouragement, you want to be encouraged, you came to the right podcast. You came to the right place. We need encouragement in this country, in this nation, this world like never before. Encouragement needs to be the place you go when everything seems like it's not going well. It seems like you're not being understood or you don't even understand. Encouragement conquers all. And today we are honored to have a guest, Turner Ward, a seasoned coach and hitting expert, currently with the St. Louis Cardinals, who actually, he just told me he played for my favorite team, which is the Cleveland Indians. I don't know what this Guardians thing is, but the Cleveland Indians, with a career, he had a career also, where he had a journey where he's drafted by the New York Yankees and winning World Series championships as both a player and a coach. I can't wait to hear who he won a World Series with. Probably the Yankees, if I were to guess. But nothing short of a remarkable career and a remarkable man. Turner's dedication to his craft and his remarkable achievements make him a true inspiration in the world of baseball and beyond. And he just loves the word encouragement. And I can't wait to ask him why. And I love the word encouragement. So I'm pumped. Turner, come on. Let's go.
Man, thanks for having me, Justin, because, it's such a powerful word. When you just look at what courage is, that's just kind of strength, right? It's like we all need strength. We all need lifting up. We want to get stronger. Sometimes we just need other people to help us get to that place. And I think that's kind of what this word is so powerful for me. I've had to, through the course of my life and all the failures in baseball, as a player, because hitting, of course, is so tough. But more than that, it's like dealing with players now on a regular basis for years now, of encourage them through difficult times in their life, whether that be personally and or professionally.
Yeah, baseball, some of our listeners might not be like myself, an avid sports fan. Some of them are on here because of sports, because I'm a coach and, and leadership in that way. And maybe they saw, our team that I coach. But I can tell you, baseball's the longest season ever. Turner, tell them how many days you're on the road and what's your schedule like, just so somebody can kind of understand how it works.
Maybe I should just tell how often we are not. I go home in November or late October every year, and then I head back in at middle of February, and from February on, it's just travel. We'll do the 6 weeks in spring training, but while we're there for those 6 weeks, we're traveling to different places in Florida and having our spring training, get ready for the season. I just left Detroit, got in there last night. I'm here this morning, getting to talk to you and getting encouraged from it. And but the schedule for these players, I hate to say coaches and everybody, the players are the ones who's having to to play. And I understand that for 16 years I did that. And so.
Yeah, who'd you play with, Turner? Who are the teams you played with?
Well, I originally got drafted by the New York Yankees right out of college. I went to Juco for 2 years, and then I went to the University of South Alabama right there close to home, and just couldn't get too far away from my high school sweetheart wife now. But Yankees drafted me in 1986. I went to Oneonta, New York, and then to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and then Columbus, Ohio, and in the spring of the next year, they traded me to the Cleveland Indians. So I went to.
I went. You played with one of my favorite players, Albert Bell.
Oh man, this guy could hit, and I played him also. I played with him when he was Joey, and then he became Albert, right? So
what was that about? Why did he change his name?
You know what? We never did really talk about it a whole lot, even though I played cards.
He might punch you in the chest if you talked about it.
But it made perfect sense for him because he was like the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde of baseball. He was a totally different guy. When he stepped between the lines, he was a different guy than very smart off the field. I don't mean not on the field, but I mean very smart, accountant, intellectual, played cards, that kind of stuff. And man, when the game time came, it was like this light switch that turned on. And he was probably one of the more intense players that I played with, and I was out in center field when he chunked the ball. He encouraged the fan not to be talking trash to him anymore. So he
I remember that.
The chest.
I remember that, And do you have any stories where you had to encourage him or you had a relationship with him? I mean, you guys are like a family. Baseball is like a family.
It is. I mean, encouragement comes in different ways. I know that there was one time in the outfield, I'm in center field, and Albert didn't care too much about defense. I told him one time, I said, I am so tired of running down all of your balls out here in the outfield, out running down everything. And then he goes, hey, I didn't throw the pitch.
Oh my goodness.
So that was kind of that was really early. He ended up being a good outfielder and stuff. I ended up being traded to Toronto Blue Jays where, we won 2 World Series back to back then, 1992 and 1993. And
that was with Joe Carter, right?
Joe Carter hit that walk-off off the Phillies. And, then we played, that was in 93. In 92, we played the Braves, Atlanta Braves. They had Deion Sanders. They had a really good team then. And,
Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, and those guys. Yeah,
they just had just a great all-around team, and we was blessed to win 2 World Series.
So let's get back to encouragement. Like you're probably 200 days a year with this team, right? On a regular basis, probably.
Yes.
Around that many days, give or take 10 or 20. So tell me, like, what happens to these players, and how does encouragement help you in your own personal journey? And what encourages you in your own personal journey as a coach with these players? And then what are ways that you encourage them?
I think the one thing is like knowing how hard it is. There's not being that you're a baseball fan, that hitting is the hardest thing to do in sports. And
by far.
So saying you're great when you fail 70% of the time, I mean, we don't even see how many 300 hitters do we even see in today's game. So really the numbers is backed up a little bit now. That number is
280 now.
Yes. I mean, the failure rate is so high, and that's even when you're successful. So I understand, I never wanted to forget about how tough it was as a player. And I really believe that's really helped me as a coach, because I had those coaches like Buck Showalter, and I had Tim Foley, and these different guys that encouraged me and helped me. Phil Gardner, my manager in Milwaukee. I mean, just how powerful words can be. I mean, I remember sitting down with Dave Parker in Pittsburgh, and he's on the bench, and he's telling me, man, Turner, if I had 9 of you out there on the field, it's like, man, that just built me up. Even when I was struggling, it's like, man, this guy wants 9 of me out there, And so I used to say that stuff even as a player to some of the teammates like Jason Kendall, which I really believed. I wish I had 9 of him out there. It was a style of play, and the no quit, but I think
what you're saying is this, Turner, before you go on to the next point. What Turner's saying is this: if you've got a child right now and you're forgetting about when you were a kid and how tough it was for you, if you're in a business and you forget how tough it was to just start out and be that first employee, if right now you're in your life and forgetting about like what's gotten you to where you are, or you've forgotten about how difficult it is and then guess what? You can't encourage if you're not empathetic to how difficult it was for you, right?
Exactly. And I think that's kind of where the compassion comes in, right? And I think we kind of tie all these words together, like encouragement, compassion, hope. Well, my wife went through breast cancer in 2012. And I always thought, man, I'm a compassionate person. I mean, that's what Christ had done in my life. But I'm sorry I get upset about this, but
no, you're not upset. You're being real.
Well, what that did was watching my wife go through something like that. It made me have even more compassion. I thought, man, I'm a compassionate guy. So I was able to take that into my coaching, and I think that's what, the difficulties of life does, man. I hope you just don't forget how tough it is, what the struggle is, what it teaches you, what do you learn from it. And, we have a really great ball player right here, Paul Goldsmith, and, he really takes all those kind of things, to the next level. And what I mean by that is like, he's always, okay, what am I learning from this? What did I learn from this situation? Or what did I learn from this failure? So I think that when we're in the learning process of our struggles or the learning process of the trials and times, man, we're able to use that to encourage people. And I think this just kind of becomes this circle of how we give it, how we receive it. When we get it, we want to receive it. I mean, it just kind of comes back to you.
Yeah, when you talk about your wife, it touches me because I'm such a better man, a better father, a better friend. And I know this might sound like bad, but like when I'm failing, if that makes sense, or when I'm seeing something that's not easy that I'm going through, I'm so much more compassionate. And sometimes when we become successful, and I think that's the gift of baseball, because this, you could go 0 for 5 one day and you could go 4 for 5 the next.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've got this, in a baseball sense, a bipolar experience, right? Every day.
Yeah.
So when you share about your wife, I want to love my kids more. I want to love my wife more. And if you didn't share, and that's what the cross is all about, right, Turner? The cross of Jesus Christ is all about encouragement. Whether you would die for Jesus or not, or you're a star-studded Christian or living your faith as a disciple of Jesus Christ or not, nobody can say that the cross doesn't inspire. And you inspired me sharing about your wife there. And how do you share with your team? What have you seen that's been most effective and gotten you closer with your team? How do you encourage them?
Well, I think for one thing is just understanding that we all need it, right? I mean, we all. Luke 22:43. God sent an angel. An angel appeared and strengthened Jesus. He was swayed. He was on the mount. I mean,
even Jesus needed encouragement.
Man, if Jesus needs it, you need it. I need it. They need it. And I think for me, a lot of times, like we have hitters meeting every single day, so we'll go over who that pitcher is. And when I say every single day, a lot of times on Sunday morning, we won't do it, or a day game, we won't do it. We'll just do it individually when we come out. But I try to make light, and our offense has not been going good. So I kind of made a point this year trying to mix it up to do a joke or something that's kind of, and of course they're silly,
Give me one. Give me one. Give me your best one. Give me something good here.
All right. So, I tell the guys that I'm getting old now. I just turned 60 April 11th, and I had to go to the doctor.
You look great, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. So I turned 60 April 11th, and I had to go see the eye doctor. My eyes weren't doing that well, and so the doctor told me that I was colorblind, and I said, "Man, that news hit me right out of the purple." So I plan on these stupid dad jokes and stuff.
Yeah, dad jokes.
And then the guys, every now and then I'll get a guy to come in there. They'll make fun of, their joke's funnier than yours, and blah blah blah. I said, what do I got to do? Add a few cuss words in it to make it funny? That's all they're doing. So I always keep it really clean and stupid funny. And but there's so many different ways that I have to,
My son had this joke. I got one for you. All right, you can use this one. So we have these friends. They're named the Kawasaki's, right? And my son was 3, and he's pretty quick-witted. This kid. So he comes up and he goes, "Dad, you know the Kawasaki's?" I go, yeah, I know, yeah. They're our friends. He goes, yeah. Did you know they only wear black and white socks? And so now I'm like, what is he talking about? Dominic, what are you talking about? He goes, "Dad, you don't get it? Kawasaki, they only wear black and white. Dad, you don't get it? Kawasaki, they only wear black and white socks." I go, "I get it, and you're hilarious."
They will love that. They will love that right there.
You can say a kid came up to you. You can say a kid came up to you. I got a friend of mine.
Oh, that's good. I love it.
No, but humor is a great way to encourage people. Don't you agree?
It really is, and I think that's one of my styles and tactics I use, and because there's something about putting a smile on your face, right? There's something that it just lightens up your body, your whole presence, and I know even sometimes I'll say to the guys when we're in that group, and as soon as I start some words, they know a joke is about to come. Like I'll lead into it, and like the whole room is smiling. The eyes are rolling, but with a smile on the face, and I know they know something stupid's coming, but I have to encourage, in multiple different ways. Encouragement also comes in truth, and truth is not always, accepted really well, but, kind of encourage guys to make the adjustments that they need to make in this game, or encourage them to stop doing things that they're doing. We're trying to encourage a lot of times to do something when maybe the opposite is true, and encourage them to stop doing something.
Yeah, what you're saying is this, and this is what we believe at Encouragement Conquers. Encouragement is accountability.
Mm.
Like if I don't say to my player, look, you didn't have a dad in your life. You're going to be a great dad. And you have to accept that, and you have to own that, and you have to believe that. Somebody could say, oh, that's too much. You're challenging them. No way.
No.
That's encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
Discipline and accountability. How do you think discipline and accountability, how do you do that to make it's about truth and love, even though it's accountability? What's a way we could do better at that, or parents or myself or leaders out there could hold people accountable with truth and love in a better way?
I think it comes from the word care. Like it's a part of the philosophy of me as a coach. I mean, it is a foundational thing, like my faith, like, and I'll just use these words from, John Wooden says a player doesn't care, or you can just say a person, but I use it from my baseball sense. A player doesn't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that is a foundational that I stole from a guy that did a great job at UCLA as a coach. And there's nothing wrong with kind of stealing some good things. But it became a philosophy of mine, because the coaches that really helped me was the ones that cared about me, and they really cared about me. They gave me the truth, not something they thought I needed to hear, but something that something that I wanted to hear, more that I needed to hear. And I think that's kind of where it becomes hard, because I've had multiple players that from a sense of they didn't like what I had to say, and then they'll come back week or a day or a year from now and go, you know what, I really appreciate you being honest with me and caring enough to do that, because sometimes it's not overnight. Sometimes it's not at the moment and everything. So being truthful and them knowing that you do care about them personally, and from my job standpoint, professionally, I put them in that order because for one thing, because I do, and then the other thing is the right thing to do.
And why? I mean, you're 60, so like you've been doing this a long time. So how do you, a lot of times, as I get older as well, it's a similar question for myself. How do you keep caring? How do you keep encouraging? We see so much division in our country right now. We see so much discouragement of over 50% of young men and women don't even have a relationship with their biological father in the United States of America right now. You're talking 1 in 6 are attempting to kill themselves as young people right now. I mean, we're dealing with some stuff. You're talking 1 in 3 are battling depression and or anxiety clinically, not just, randomly, like really having to seek help. So how do you, in 200 days of service to these men and our family, and you've been doing it a lot, how do you stay encouraged, Turner? How do you keep that encouragement bulb going?
For one thing, you said it earlier, like my wife is a big component of that. But there's a word that we use, and I wear it on my hand right here. It's the word hope. Okay, so like when we're handing someone strength, or when we're kind of giving them the encouragement, we're really giving them hope, right? That you're going to get through this. We're going to help you get through this. I'm going to walk alongside you when we do this. Well, this word hope, we use it in conversation as almost doubt, right? Like, man, I hope he gets out of this slump. Oh, I hope I pass this test. Oh, I hope I get this job. Where is the confidence in that? There's not. Well, in the New Testament, the word hope It's like over 70 times it's in there, right? And it's the Greek word elpis, E-L-P-I-S, elpis. And that word literally means certainty of things to come.
I love that.
Okay, so
I love that.
if I'm certain and I can hand them that strength and I can give them that hope and I can kind of encourage that hope, then I think that it's going to be uplifting. It's going to be something that they can kind of work for, look forward to. And but when you really look at hope, if you just dive as deep as you possibly can, and you just find the bottom of hope and you look for the definition of it, it's Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus literally is our hope. So going back to your conversation with people and the 1 out of 6 commit suicide, I mean, where's the hope? Where is Jesus? Man, we all going through different things, but man, thank goodness I have a Savior that can actually help to encourage the hope that I need in me. But man, because of that, I can help kind of give that hope to others. And because He is the true definition of hope.
So you're saying Jesus Christ, that's what keeps you going. And that's what your hope. And the Bible says in Romans 5, it says, hope doesn't disappoint, you know. And if you could, and I know I'm going to share about this a little bit later. I know you founded a nonprofit with your life that's all about Hope 4110. It's really to help women who, you know, are going through breast cancer. So what you're saying is, like C.S. Lewis, friendship is born when you say you too, you've been through that too. I want to help you with this. And I want to talk about that. But I want to hear a victory story, though, with some of your baseball players. Like, what's a story of hope where you said, man, this player, it wasn't going well, or this player was struggling or in a rut, and I was able to meet him where he was at, and it wasn't me, of course, I know it's Jesus, but like I was able to meet him where he's at and walk with him, and he came out of it, or he got out of that slump. Do you have any victory stories to share with us?
I'm going to tell 2 stories. First one is, you know, you have these moments in this game. Like I've had moments hitting a homer in the playoffs, making diving catches, all of these things, you know, these highlight reels. My son, bat boy, and while I was in the big leagues, and I'm walking up to the plate, and I hear something say, hit me a homer, Daddy. And I just thought I said, I heard Daddy. And I turn around, I'm almost in a batter's box. There's my little boy. He's 6 years old. He's 31 now. And he's like, hit me a homer, Daddy. Man, I'm literally at home plate in tears in Chicago. And man, I hit this ball and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got it. Well, I didn't. It hit the wall for a double, but you know, I scored on the next batter, and there's my son, my 6-year-old son. I'm giving him a high five coming in. So I've had all of these moments as like a player, but I want to share like this first moment to me is like my greatest moment, I feel like, in the game, because I feel like this is why I'm here. And so Paul Goldsmith, I coached him in the minor leagues, and I had him in the big leagues. And he asked me one day, he's always that player, what do I got to do to get better? What do I need to get better? And so I told him, I said, well, you give me 2 weeks and I'll tell you. And I said, he looked at me like, why 2 weeks? I said, man, because there's a lot of things you got to get better in. And so I wrote some notes down, and I met with him. And, you know, and I was like, first of all, you got to go closer to the Lord. So I kind of had this mapped out. You got to be a better husband, a better father. You know, then we're going to get to the player stuff. And so I was able to disciple him as a young player. But the moment that was so powerful was a few years later. I left the Diamondbacks, went to the Dodgers, and it was in spring training. I don't even know what it was. I would say spring training or 16 or 17. And he calls me up. He says, man, I want to get baptized, and I want you to baptize me. I said, like Paul, man, I'd be honored, be great, I'd love to do it. And so, not knowing what he's going to do, he said, hey, I'm going to have some friends and family over. But so we went to his house, to his pool. He had his parents, his wife's parents, most everybody on the team, friends. I mean, this guy wanted to celebrate, you know, that moment. And he like I tell you, he's got takes everything to the next level. And while all these people are sitting out on the outside of this pool, in this freezing pool, We're both just shivering. But he's going, Ian, thank you for always asking me to come to chapel. Nick, thank you for kind of encouraging me. I mean, he just went down the road and just told all these people what they meant to him. And then he was baptized. So the moment wasn't the baptism, man. That's just an expression of him just, showing. But the celebration of how he wanted to do it and what he did and how he encouraged, he probably will never know how much that encouraged not only me, but everyone that was a part of that. So
powerful.
That moment will stand out, of course, in my life, just because of what he did, not what he asked me to do, but what he did. So that was cool. So the other story I want to share was with Nolan Arenado. Man, just a great player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And, just to recognize how tough this game is. Goldie won the MVP in 22, and Nato, he was the third runner-up. I mean, it was him, Machado, and Gold. They was the three best hitters in the National League, the best offensive players. And so last year, Nato was going through some tough times early in the season, and just this game just beats you down and everything. And I think that one of the things that I told my manager, he said, "What you got?" I said, "Well, I think I'm going to go over to Nato's house." After the game, was after a game that night. Wasn't a good night. He's not in a good place mentally, which a lot of guys get there. And so.
How's it going? It's Justin Fatica, and I can tell you I'm so thankful for your encouraging messages and engagement and joining us for our videos that we hope are bringing you encouragement when you need it most. Now, before you go, I want to tell you about some exciting news. Since I was 19 years old, it's my dream to build facilities for kids. Well, that dream is happening. It's a place where young people and their families can relax, socialize, work out, be encouraged, that they can make a difference in somebody's life every day or have their lives be impacted. That's where we need you. We need you to ask yourself if you'd like to help us to break ground. You can be a part of this mission within less than 1 year. But if we don't have help, we can't do this. Now, I know right now there are a lot of people struggling, but we're just looking for pocket change, a rainy day fund, or to connect us with partners who can help make this dream a reality. We want every single kid and every single family to know they're amazing. And it starts with you. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content so we can keep you updated, so you can keep us going. And together, remember, we are making a lasting impact. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your support. And stay encouraged. And never forget, you were made for an amazing day. And it starts with what lives within you. You're amazing.
He goes, "You serious? You go to his house after a game?" I've never done anything like that before. And so he said, "Well, I'm coming with you." So we got outside, we left and, we got that dress. And so we sat out there in front of the house, and I was texting, "Hey, Nato, I'm out here in your front yard." "No, you're not." I'm like, "Yeah, I am. I don't want to. We got two cars parked out here, me and Ollie, and we're out here just waiting on you." "Man, me and my wife's up here watching a movie." I said, "Well, we're about to knock on your door." So we went in there and just talked, and just I'm not gonna give any detail about the conversations and everything like that, but encouragement is just not a word; it's an action. I mean, we need to take action in what we do. We got to back up. Faith is important, right? But our actions start speaking louder than that. And I think that's kind of where the part of our encouragement, the hope, the compassion, and all this stuff with these words that surround it, how we conquer, man, it's action. If we don't take action, then really, what is it?
Pointless.
Yes.
Yeah, it's God the Father took action, right, Turner?
Yes.
He proved he loved us, that while we were still sinners, he sent Christ to die for us. He proved it. He didn't just say, "Oh, I'm going to be up up in heaven, hanging out, saying, "You figure it out."
Yeah.
Some of our leaders, that's what they do, right?
Yes.
They throw us in a pool and they say, "Sink or swim, figure
Mm.
it out." But there's other leaders that jump in the pool and say, "Hey, I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna walk with you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna suffer with you. I'm gonna suffer well. I'm gonna empower you and encourage you, not just with my words, but my actions." And tell me, I know you have somebody like this. It's obvious, just because those who sow in tears reap in joy. Who's somebody when you were a player, when you were younger, that you think about and go, man, if that coach, if that player, if that friend, if that leader wasn't there to inspire me, like you're Turner inspiring these players, who's that one that you talk about that really walked the walk and talked the talk and inspired you when you were younger? Do you have anybody?
I mean, of course, there's just so many because that list grew, of course, over the years. But getting into the big leagues, Tim Foley, he was a coach in Milwaukee. I left Toronto Blue Jays, 1 and 2 World Series, miserable. My life was not going in the direction that Christ wanted me to. I ended up getting to Milwaukee where the GM was a believer. The coaches were believers. Tim Foley was one of those coaches on that. I had guys like Bill Wegman and Kevin Seitzer, Cal Eldred. I mean, just a whole group of guys that really helped turn the trajectory of my life into the right way, becoming from a follower to a leader in that sense. And so and now like Dan Carlson and Jay Bell. I mean, these guys are instrumental in my life. And of course, still Cal Eldred is a great friend. So I have these people, in the game and then outside of the game, a guy like Benji Seals, who I played college ball with, we're still buddies and still, if I go speak somewhere, he's my prayer warrior. He'll go with me if he can. And, so we need those people around us to help us move in the right direction.
Yeah. And what's one story you could say that like they walked with you and that spoke to your life? You're like, dang, man, when this guy stepped in there and just encouraged me, that made me believe I could, through Christ, all things are possible and I can conquer anything.
Don Gordon is the name, and I didn't mention him with all of them, but when I was a young, I talk about kind of how I come to Christ, but then I kind of come to the point where I surrendered my life. And so I was actually in a Walmart, and a buddy of mine, knows, hey man, he's like, have you been discipled? And I go, I know. And he goes, you need to start praying right now. This was in the off season. He goes, you need to start praying right now that God will put somebody in your life to disciple you. So I did, man. I started praying. Man, I went to spring training with the Brewers, and I'm going to the first what we call chapel. It was up in the stands in the stadium in Arizona, and I'm just listening to the message that Don Gordon is giving at this time to just a chapel for us and everything. And at the end of it, he goes, Turner, I want to ask you something. He goes, don't feel obligated. Don't feel like you have to, need to, want to, or whatever. He goes, but I'm going to ask you, Lord, put it on my heart to disciple you. And I was like, I said, Don, man, you are literally an answered prayer. And so that at that moment, being discipled and having someone pour into my life really gave me the meaning of kind of what it's supposed to look like, and it kind of gave me a job later in kind of how I'm going to disciple guys different ways. Sometimes it's sitting down with a guy and going through a study. Sometimes it's just just encouraging them with the word. But the discipleship is important, and it was instrumental in my life and the trajectory that it took my life. So Don Gordon. And that conversation in Walmart, to be praying about that, and to come to fruition, just a few months later, was pivotal in my life.
Yeah, and what Don is in our world is he's an encouragement coach, right? Like I look at you, Turner, as like one of the I've had a lot of guests on here. I just want to encourage you. Like, you are, when I think of encouragement coaches, that's really what you are and who you are, is an encouragement coach. You
Well, I
know,
appreciate that.
no, I see it. And what an encouragement coach is, they allow themselves to take what their physical self and their whole being is, and they invest that into somebody that might accept it or might not accept it, but they want to make sure to do that because they care so much.
Mm,
And it's not about themselves, it's about that. And that's who Don was for you.
yes.
Right now, we're in the process of building your amazing fitness facilities all across the country. And what they are is 20% of the kids that go to these facilities, they're kids that they go for free. These are high profile facilities. You're talking 10 to 18 basketball courts. You're talking state of the art facility. But these kids get to go for free. And you're like, well, how do I get to go for free? Well, you have to have an encouragement coach.
Mm,
And if you miss your meeting, you lose your membership.
wow.
And the whole point is say, look, encouragement is more important than sports.
Mm-hmm.
Encouragement and you are more important than what you're going to achieve. And just to thank you for that, you give me encouragement that these dreams, these hopes, all of what can be done, what Don did for you, that it's possible, that every kid deserves. That's for me. Like, as I get older, I look back, it's miraculous. Like that, where I am in my life. Because when I go to an assembly and I speak like you speak at assemblies, I'm sure, which anybody like to have them do that. I think you'd be great. I'm going to bring you in for one. I run all these huddles, FCA huddles,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, we have all kinds. I got to have you come in and share with all these kids. You're ridiculous.
Oh, I love it.
But when I go, how many of you, what job, if I didn't be a speaker, what job? And there's always, every event, there's the one kid who raises it and goes, you'd be in jail, man. He goes, and I consider that a compliment, because what the kid's saying is, it's miraculous that you'd be called to do something so beautiful, because really, you're nothing without God.
That's right. Exactly right.
You're nothing.
Oh.
And I just want to thank you for inspiring me, because and what are other ways that, like, a father, I want to talk about fatherhood, because we do live in a fatherless generation, and there are a lot of fathers that listen to these episodes, because I have a lot of great men that come on here. What would you tell a father right now that their kids need, that their family needs, that their wives need? What are your thoughts?
Wow, that's a great question. I have kids all at different levels right now. I have my son who's 31 years old, little granddaughter. Then I have my daughter in law school. Then I have my youngest son who's a freshman in college. And they've all been like watching them go through different struggles. And my youngest son, he's hurt right now, not getting to play baseball. That's his kind of goal and dream. My daughter, law school, and man, what we do with our daughters, like my daughter loves like words, right? She's not the affectionate, huggy type, but man, sending her flowers or sending her something, a note, a letter, letting her know how proud I am of her. It's weird because both my sons are more, huggy, kind of probably more like me. It's like the touch, and I was like, my youngest son, man, he's bigger than me, 6'4", 220, big old kid, and, but he was all the way up to about 14, man. He just wanted to hold dad's hand. And sometimes I'd be like, man, this is kind of him, he's a little bit too old, but you know what?
Yeah.
He had comfort. He was okay, with he didn't care what people thought, and I think that's, with my oldest son too, it's just like, you can't give them enough encouragement. You cannot do enough. Sometimes it might be something financial. They need something financial. Sometimes it might just be the words. Sometimes it might just be a gift you send to them. And I think that, the one book that's helped me out so much, of course, in my marriage, my kids, and I'll even say in baseball when dealing with players, was the 5 love languages. When you
Yes,
understand
great book,
people,
great book.
and I think we love people so much the way we want to be loved, but when we need to learn how much we need to love them, like my wife is acts of service. I mean, I can go hug and kiss her all I want, and I love to do that. But man, doing something for her, I mean, and
Get out and get those weeds done, man.
and look, I'm in the worst possible job in the universe for time being my wife's love language. So I have to make sure, and I fail at it a lot, but I have to make sure that that time and when I'm, trying to spend time or when I can have time and that she's the most important thing. And I think that's kind of understand your kids, your employees, your spouse, of course, your friends. What are their love language? Man, love on them that way.
Yeah, just quickly so they know. Tell them the 5 love languages real quick, just so people who might never read the book. I've read the book a couple times, but tell them what they are.
Well, I mean, it's gifts, it's words of encouragement. I mean, it's the words, it's time. I mean, so many times, and touch. I mean, we're so easy to do the touch, but we're not as easy to do the acts of service, which is the 5th one.
Or the time.
Yeah, so those times and acts of services, becomes action stuff, and I think that's kind of course, we want to love in all of those ways, but in some ways, people need more of one than the other, and I think
yeah, I learned that with my wife. Like mine, of course, are words of encouragement. You and I are similar guys, right? we like that guy, but I had to learn I have to put my wife in my schedule. Like everything else is in the schedule.
Yeah.
I need to make sure, okay, yeah, I'm traveling to speak and do this. Yeah, I'm traveling to build the mission that we're called to do, to encourage the world, let the whole world know they're amazing. But how am I letting my wife know she's amazing? By putting her in the schedule and saying, this one I'm going to have a date night, and make sure know how many busy I am 2 or 3 times a month, that I'm putting it in my schedule and I'm pouring into her. And then when I am home, really honing in on the family meals and really striving. And I think it's important to put our families in our schedules. As much as that might sound simplified, we put everything else in our schedules. Why isn't our family in our schedule?
Exactly. My daughter's having her finals this week, and so she's flying in Sunday for 5 days. Just gonna be me and her, and those little things. I mean, just go so far. That I don't want to say, oh, that Dad would take time. Of course, I would take time. But I mean, she understands those 12-hour days that that I'm here when I'm, at the stadium and stuff, and to shorten that time schedule down because she's important is important for me and for her.
Yeah. Tell me about like the foundation that you started with your wife. Like, how did that? I know that she had breast cancer herself, right?
Yeah, and you know what? You would really love to have her if you wanted someone to encourage you on the show, man. That she would be great. But I'll give you a kind of little quick on Isaiah 41:10. Okay,
I love that verse. You go for it.
Yeah, so she, found out the news, had breast cancer. I was on a bus going from Birmingham to Jacksonville, Florida, minor league as a coach. And I had 2 guys with me. They knew that my wife was going to the doctor that day. Both these guys, Dan Carlson, I mentioned him to you earlier, Jay Bell, both of them coaches, both of them solid believers. I don't know what I would have done without people like that, but that foundation, of course, came later. It's 2, 3, 4 years later, but it started with a verse that the Lord just put on my wife's heart. It was Isaiah 41:10. It says, so do not fear. Do not be dismayed. I will strengthen you. I will lift you up with my mighty right hand. And that's a powerful verse she still holds on to today, of course. But, and that's the inspiration why and how we are helping women through breast cancer, financially and emotionally and spiritually. And she just does an unbelievable job. She actually goes out and speaks, and she wrote a book. I'll show you real quick. She wrote a book, Unexpected Hope. and just a great book of encouragement. And it's not even through breast cancer; it's just through struggles in itself. It just happens to be breast cancer is what kind of was a struggle for our lives in this time period. But the book really encourages anyone and everyone who's going through any types of struggle. And she's so raw in how she puts it out there, the struggle with her faith and just everything that comes along when you get into a deep place, deep, dark place. And but it's really good, and it gives hope.
Yeah, and my son, when he was 3, he learned a Bible verse, 1 Corinthians 10:13, and it's one of my favorites. And it's no trial comes to you, but what is human, God is faithful. And he will not try you beyond your strength, but he will provide a way out of your trial so you can bear it. And everyone is given some type of trial. Jesus had the greatest trial of all mankind, but we all aren't greater than our master. So we are all given those trials. And how we handle those trials is how we link ourselves to Christ, and how we link ourselves to all the great gifts of our own families who have had trials themselves and have persevered. And so, how can people persevere through their challenges, Turner? How would you inspire somebody? There's somebody that's listening going, man, if they even knew what I'm going through right now, they wouldn't even be encouraging me right now because it's so discouraging. What would you share with them?
I think you already know the answer. Of course you do, but I'm going to put it in a different way, a quote. And it says that with Jesus, we have endless hope. Without Jesus, we have a hopeless ending. And I think that if you're just listening to this show and you're just a sports fan, or you just kind of listen to it because, man, you need some encouragement, and we have these words and all these things that we could say, but man, we actually have a person. If you would just open up your heart, just open up to be still and to listen. God is talking. And sometimes this world, the voices just speak louder. The things that surround us and the world that's trying to just consume us. But man, if you could just be still and know that God loves you, cares for you, and wants to walk with you through it. And I think that's kind of where, even through our deepest struggles, even struggling in our faith and everything, but we still know we have hope. We still know we have Jesus. And it's just not a cliche. It's a person, and it's rock solid. He's been through it. He understands you. He was your creator. So he literally knows what you need. Just like a doctor, when you get diagnosed, you got some symptoms. They know what you need. Well, Jesus knows exactly what you need.
No, you're right, Turner. And just to give encouragement to our listeners, how many baseball players are out there really living for Jesus in their faith? Is it vibrant, or is it low key, or is it about the same as a regular group of people? What would be your thoughts? And then the other question to think about is, who are some players that we'd be surprised around the major leagues? They're like, man, this guy and this guy and this guy, they're on fire for their faith.
Well, I mean, there's so many. You just don't get to hear it out there, right? I mean, we get to see the bad stories that come out, and not that even a story that could come out that would not be good, and that person could be just struggling in their faith. There's a lot of guys, man. This team is full of them. We have so many guys, and it's so encouraging when you have, Paul Goldsmith and Gibson, one of our pitchers. I mean, there's way more than that. I mean, Arenado. I mean, Donovan. Brendan Donovan's growing in his faith. I mean, you just don't get to hear it. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, when I was in L.A., I mean, just a Hall of Fame, unbelievable pitcher, and just a guy that just loves the Lord and just helps people. And I wish it was known more that, but a lot of times, and you know this, Justin, man, the hardest thing to do is to living out your faith. So sometimes we don't even want to put it out there because somebody might see our flaws, and it's okay to have flaws. I mean, we're just trying to flaw less, right? we,
Yeah. And there'd be no need for a savior if we were perfect, like.
exactly right. And I think not only do we need to have grace for others, we need to have grace for ourselves. And I think that's kind of don't be afraid to know that you that say that you struggle in your faith or where you are, because man, everybody is. We're not we're not in this alone. And that's why we need others around us to help us through certain times.
Yeah, I always tell my dad, who actually struggles with his faith, I always say, I go, Dad, the hardest thing I've ever done is be a person of faith. But it's been the greatest journey that I've ever been on. And I encourage my dad constantly because he means the world to me. And there are a lot of people out there that might not have faith and might even after what we're sharing right now say this is a great episode and I love being encouraged by Justin and Turner today. But we can't give up on pursuing truth because we're only here for a short time, right? We're here for a short time. It's going to end, and it would be very unhappy for all of us if this was it.
Mm.
So this isn't it, and we are certain about that. There is heaven, there is hope, and it is in Jesus Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And I can't thank you. And honestly, like look, you coming on here inspiring. We've had a lot of athletes, NBA guys, different leaders. But I just want you to know, as a brother to brother, keep it up, man. Keep it up because the encouragement you're giving to these players and to people, it's a super big inspiration. Is there anything on your heart that you'd like to share in closing?
I mean, no, not really. I mean, just I really I needed this. I mean, it's one thing to say what you believe, and it's another thing to kind of put it out there what your your philosophy is or where your faith is or anything. But just being able to hear myself right now and talk, I really, you have really encouraged me, helping me kind of navigate a little bit through some of my thoughts right now. Even though I'm that's encouragement every single day, but your foundation of what you do and expressing that and saying it, you don't ever define it, right? You're just doing it. But like today, really being able to kind of speak it out has been very encouraging me, and you're just encouraging. I mean, just you've made me feel good about what I do, and actually in this job, you don't get it. Your job in the baseball and the hitting realm is to take all of the blame and none of the credit. And I don't even want. I mean, that's just the job. I don't care about the credit. I just care about the people. And I think that whether it's good year, bad year, whatever, I just keep doing the same thing. Just keep trying to kind of keep the same attitude going in and the same energy. And whatever happens after that is we're just working through the process.
Yeah, well, one thing you do is you do your jokes every day. Keep that going because humor encourages them. But one thing I want to let you know, you're a tough guy. I work out. I'm strong. I do handstand push-ups for my players. Like if they do something really good at the game, like my little team, I'll throw a handstand push-up without the wall and like start banging it out. Right? It's a lot of fun. But I can tell you one thing that you've done here today. If you're just listening, go to YouTube and see us because I think just listening to what we did today wouldn't speak for itself, right? And something that I want to encourage you on, keep on doing, cry with these young men. Cry with them. And cry because being strong, it's like a paradox. It's a mystery. When you're tough and you're strong, and they see all of a sudden, wait, this guy could freaking knock me out. He's a tough guy. But this guy cares about caring more than he cares about being tough. This guy cares about serving more than he cares. And that speaks to men. And I just wanted to say thank you, for being real, for being authentic, and for being you. You are worth it, Turner. And every person that comes in contact with, and you were made for a specific purpose, and one was just to spend time. And I'm gonna fly out whatever team at some point. I'm just gonna fly out to one of your games and come. We'll go out to eat or something.
Awesome.
I'd love to do that.
Where are you, Justin?
So we have a headquarters in Syracuse, New York, and in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
Yep. So those are where we're at, and there's just so many lives being impacted, so many lives. Your amazing fitness. It's gonna be that's something we're really working on right now because we really see a problem, Turner, in the sports industry, especially with youth sports.
Yeah.
That they're seeing that the what is more important than the who. And our big thing is to encourage the who.
Yes, that's right.
Like not to encourage. Look, you're getting way too much encouragement for the who. I mean, for the what? Way too much. It's distracting you. It's a discouragement for your future. And I've known that my AAU team, and we're not the best. I have 6 guys playing college basketball out of 9. But it's because it was about the who, not the what. It's a formula that works, and you know that.
Yes,
you see some of these guys that were better hitters than you, right? When you were young.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they didn't make it.
That's right.
Because they were about the what. So, but thank you so much, and know that we're here, and I'll pray for you. I'll put you on my prayer list, and know that. If there's anyone else you want to share our episodes with, I'd love to have some more of the guys on if possible.
All right. Yeah. I would love.
All right.
I'll do that. I'll definitely get a couple of guys that I think would be great for your show.
Yeah, it might encourage them too, even if it's just encourage them and build them up. This is Turner Ward. Yeah, he's a baseball hitting coach, but more importantly, he cares about you, and he wants you to know how important you are for your kids, for your God, and for the future of this nation. We had a great time. Check out more episodes. There are so many of them. There's a one, LJ McMurrin, one of my basketball players. Check it out. He can inspire you. There are so many people, NBA trainers. There's leaders in the community to encourage you. But we were so thankful. Turner Ward, keep it going, and God bless you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Encouragement Conquers All podcast with Justin Fatica. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this episode with someone who needs a little encouragement. For more uplifting content, follow us on our social media pages. See you in the next episode.